Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for our webinar today. We're going to start in just a minute, but first I have a few logistical details to go over. First of all, this session is being recorded, so if you can't stick around for the whole thing, or you want to send it to someone on your team later, we'll supply that recording within a day or two, so be sure to keep an eye on your inbox for that. Second of all, if you have any questions, you can enter them anytime during the presentation, and then the presenters will be addressing them at the end. You can ask those via the Q&A box you should be able to see on the left-hand side of your screen there. You can also enter any technical difficulties you have there as well, and I'll be standing live to help you address them. So today we have two speakers. Our first speaker is Feng. He's from Full Circle Insights, and he's their product marketing manager. And our second speaker is from Vidyard. He is the manager of insights, and is Amar, who will be speaking second. So without further ado, I'm going to pass things over to Feng to get us started. Enjoy, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim. Like Kim said, my name is Feng Hong. I'm the product marketing manager at Full Circle Insights, and we're pretty excited to present to you some information here on how to identify opportunities for a healthier funnel. Well, let's start with the agenda. Okay, so first, we're going to start with some of the basics, but some pretty key basics here. Designing a lead lifecycle with funnel stages. Secondly, we want to go into attribution and figuring out what works and what doesn't once you figure out your funnel stages and design your lead lifecycle. Then I'm going to transition over and pass it off to Amar, and he's going to talk about what's important for Vidyard. And next, he's going to talk about what they measure. And then we're going to end with connecting your tech and data silos for a single source of truth and how to aim for success through benchmarking and goal setting. So let's get started. A little bit of commercial, just to tell you what we are. I promise this is the only commercial here. Full Circle Insights is a marketing performance measurement solution that was built natively inside of Salesforce, and we provide marketing analytics around funnel metrics and attribution. So we've all seen this, or some version of this, and simply this is the Serious Decisions Demand Waterfall or the standard funnel or sales lifecycle. It's pretty much from beginning to end. You might have different versions of these stages or something that's custom to your business, and maybe even sort of sub-stages or additional stages, but basically it's inquiries at the top of the funnel. Next, it's MQLs, or leads that are qualified by marketing. Next, it's leads that are accepted by the sales team, and then it gets pushed further into sales qualified leads, or SQLs. And then finally, through some working of the deal or negotiation, there's a closing of the deal or one business, or otherwise they exit out of the funnel and re-enter in some other place. But beginning to end linearly from top to bottom, this is it. Pretty basic stuff. What I did here is overlay some markings and some overlay so that you can see the top, middle, bottom, or at least how Full Circle Insights sees it and how a lot of other businesses see it. You might have a unique view or something custom to your business where you have, again, broken out more stages or added some sub-stages, but here they are essentially top, middle, and bottom. I've highlighted some key areas, and we're talking about how to identify opportunities for a healthier funnel, and these are some key areas of handoff that I've highlighted here. The first one is the marketing to sales handoff. Again, MQL to SAL, where a sales person accepts a lead that has been qualified by marketing. And then there's the sales development rep to account executive handoff, where it becomes a qualified lead and it goes into a more of the bottom of the funnel kind of process where sales is processing the lead to try to win the business. Well, I wanted to start off by telling you guys about funnel metrics and KPIs. After you guys put you've designed your funnel, you've designed your funnel stages, and then you've put that into your Salesforce, and you're trying to measure what's going on with your funnel. Well, let's start with some of the basics here. And we've got three of them. We've got volume by stage, we've got conversion rate by stage, we've got velocity by stage. You can do this you can do volume from beginning to end, so overall volume of your sales life cycle or your funnel. But we find that it's very important to do it by stage as well. So let's start with the first one. For volume by stage, and definitionally what that tells you, it's the number of leads at a particular funnel stage. So at the MQL stage, you've got this number of leads in that stage. Pretty basic stuff. And the insights you might gain from that, one, the quantity of leads generated by marketing. And so marketing source leads, for example, at the top of the funnel, how many were generated. Another thing that you gain from this is the audience size at each stage. So when you communicate to those who are at the inquiry stage or the MQL stage, what is the size of that audience at that stage and that segment of your funnel? And then lastly, the big picture here is the effectiveness in generating leads, right? That's your effectiveness in creating, X number of leads, and a scale of marketing programs required to create that. So, you have campaigns that maybe generate hundreds of leads and campaigns that generate tens of thousands of leads, for example. Well, if you need a scale of, tens of thousands of leads to hit your revenue target, then you're going to have to think about the campaigns that generate that scale or that quantity of leads. So that's sheer volume, pretty literally here. Secondly, there's a conversion rate by stage. So definitionally, that is the percent of the total leads in the prior stage who convert to the current stage. So let's say MQLs. How many of your inquiries convert to your MQLs? So if you've got 100 leads and only 10 of them go to the MQL stage, that's 10%. Simple math. And the insights you gain here, if volume is the quantity of leads, conversion rates speak to the quality of leads. So more literally, it's lead progression throughout your funnel and who makes it and who doesn't, right? So it's the major entry points, movement points, as well as abandon points and re-entry points. Again, this is about quality of your leads and how they flow through stage by stage. And there's some key points to think about. One is the MQL to SAL. As I mentioned before, this is a handoff between marketing and sales. So it's pretty important that you have the alignment here. And Amar has plenty of examples here as well when he talks about this in his portion. Then there's inquiry to SQL. So from the way top of the funnel, down to when sales believes that this is a qualified enough lead, so it's a quality lead according to them. So it's how many leads do you generate and what portion of them convert to the SQL stage. And then finally, SQL to close, at the bottom of the funnel, that's the how effective is your sales team at pushing SQLs to close. Finally, there's velocity. So this is number of days. Usually, it's an average of the number of days that a lead spends that your leads spend in a particular stage. So, for example, MQLs when they go from MQL to SAL. So how many days do they spend in the MQL stage before they either exit the MQL stage or they go into the SAL stage? So when they stop being in the MQL stage. And the insights you gain here, one, it's the length of the sales cycle overall. So, the number of days it takes to go from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom to finish out. Secondly, it's bottlenecks in the funnel. So it's in each stage, if there's a high number of days that a lead spends in a stage, well, that's a bottleneck. So you want to pursue that and figure out what's going on there. And again, volume is quantity. Conversion is quality, and velocity is thinking about it as you can think about it as efficiency and speed. I'd like to end this with saying that the above funnel metrics, they can be further segmented by campaigns. So, what campaigns generated this number of volume. So based on this email campaign, okay, what's the volume of the leads that was generated by that email campaign, or what's the conversion rate isolated by this email campaign by itself. And so understanding the quantity, the quality, and the efficiency of your leads as isolated by different campaign types, and any other cohort that you want to do it by. So when you do all of that, and you've gotten your funnel metrics, and you've got some sort of accurate view of your funnel, what does that give you? Well, full funnel visibility gives you funnel opportunities, and that's the whole point of this webinar, is to identify opportunities. You need to set up your funnel first to be able to diagnose your problems. So having simple stages for your leads in your funnel, making sure you've got not just simple stages, but stages that your sales and marketing teams have aligned on and they signed off on that, so having an agreement there so that you're disciplined enough to make sure that that's how you're identifying your leads and you have a clear definition of that. So being able to diagnose your problems means you're able to prescribe actions to those problems. So the key thing is to build and monitor your lead to revenue process to find those high impact opportunities or your low-hanging fruits. So let's say you've gotten your funnel metrics and sort of your business process, and you're trying to get that in order, and you're measuring your funnel and you're measuring your leads movement through the funnel, and you have identified some high impact opportunities. Now, how do you pursue those high impact opportunities? Well, that's attribution. And definitionally, attribution is revenue performance. So in this illustration here, you've got $18 million of revenue. And where did that come from? Well, if you want to attribute that revenue to campaigns, you can allocate it through some math that I can sort of basically describe in a couple slides. But the concept is to be able to split that $18 million into the different campaign types or other classifications. Here it's campaign types and categories to figure out what created or impacted or influenced that $18 million. I won't go through this in detail. You can do a snipping tool or a snapshot of this slide, but my point here is that there are different attribution models and different types of attribution models. This is a slide on single touch models. You want to decide on the different attribution models that work for you, and on this slide you've got the methodology for each one, as well as what kind of insights they uncover around your marketing campaigns. These are pretty standard ones that people start off with when they want to do attribution. They think about single touch models. For example, first touch, when they think about campaign attribution, what kind of campaigns influence revenue. And they use the first touch to be able to understand what kind of campaigns generated new leads that impacted the revenue. So out of that $10 million of revenue, sort of which campaigns created the leads that led to the $10 million. Now, last touch is another one, which is sort of the opposite of the first touch. And then there's the tipping point, which is something we coined here at Full Circle Insights, but it's the campaign that created the sale engagement. And there are pros and cons for each. Won't go through them all, but this is all to say that there are ways to start off with a simple attribution model that generates some pretty good and key insights depending on what your company's goals are. Next is a set of multi-touch attribution models. I covered this in a different resource that you can download. I'm happy to share this with you guys in a cheat sheet format you see here. But this is a set of multi-touch when you want to dabble into something a little bit more complex that tells you something different and also solve some of the challenges in the single-touch models and the types of insights they provide. When people want to dabble into multi-touch, they start off with even spread, so that's equal credit to all campaigns that touch the lead. So that's one way to start off. There are other complex ones, won't go through them too much, but there's U-shaped, where you're giving equal credit to the first and the last campaign that touched the lead. W-shaped, which is first, middle, last. Other ones, including time decay, that are good for companies with a linear and continually escalating sort of lead life cycle. And then there's custom position, what we call at Full Circle Insights, custom weighted multi-touch. And finally, there's custom factors. So you're giving credit to variables that are beyond the touch position. It's not about first touch, last touch, or middle touch, but it's not just those, but you want to add in other factors such as the contact role, whether it's a person that is an exec or not, or any other factors that you find that are correlated with impact on revenue. And you want to attribute some revenue credit or impact or influence metric to those to create a report that helps you understand really what works and what doesn't. I want to summarize attribution by saying that here's the benefit. With attribution, you get to understand what are some of the marketing mix opportunities. So funnel metrics is a way to identify some of the funnel opportunities in your funnel to push leads through. Attribution is a surgical way to figure out, okay, what can I do with my marketing mix? What can I do with my campaigns to tactically get to those high impact opportunities within my funnel? So, depicted pretty simply here, you've got some sort of campaign mix that you've done before, and you can optimize that to sort of shift the pie chart and the slices of the pie, sometimes incrementally and sometimes very dramatically. We know of companies who have eliminated certain channels using attribution because it just wasn't impacting revenue. So with that, I'd love to pass it over to Amar at Vidyard. He can tell you a little bit more about what they measure, what's important to them, and some use cases for identifying opportunities to create a healthier funnel. Amar?
Thanks, Feng. I'd like to start by telling you a bit more about Vidyard, and hopefully this will give you an understanding of why we measure what we measure. So to start off, we are a B2B SaaS company, probably like many of you, and we sell to a wide variety of people within the organization, so marketing, sales, customer success, and the way we sell roughly follows the Aaron Ross predictable revenue selling model, which is a combination of inbound pipeline coming in from marketing activities and a outbound sales team that is also responsible for producing pipeline. So before we get into specific metrics, I want to talk about what's important to us. And so what we really care about understanding is the mechanics around our pipeline and revenue generation. And we like to break that up by a variety of different points. But on the screen, I've got 3 different points that are probably the most important to us. So looking at it from an inbound and outbound marketing and sales perspective. Across different business units, we sell to businesses of different sizes, so small, medium enterprise, mid-market, and then large companies as well. To cater to these different markets and segments, we have a wide array of products as well. So understanding how different product groups are performing is also really, really important. And so in order to get the best understanding of all this, we need to have a really solid data foundation. As you saw in the previous slide, Vidyard is pretty complex in the way it sells. So in order for us to be able to determine what's working, what's not, and especially being able to compare channels against one another, we need to have a very consistent framework for doing that. And Full Circle Insights is actually huge here, and Feng will talk about that in the latter portion of this webinar. So moving on to specific things that we measure. So Feng talked about the basic volume conversion timing, and he mentioned that you can break that down by campaign. Now, we go a step further and look at not only campaigns, but campaign types, ad groups, keywords, so on and so forth on the inbound side. And on the outbound side, where we have reps calling out, we actually set up individual campaigns for their outbound initiatives. So we're able to, on the same report, compare our inbound campaigns to our outbound campaigns. And we can also break it down by territories as well. So across geographic regions, across revenue bands, so on and so forth. Really, the sky's the limit. But as long as you have this basic framework, you're in good shape. Moving on to some more advanced stuff that we look at on a regular basis. This is around pipeline and then sales cycle. So the first thing is one of my favorite things or metrics to look at. If any of you are familiar with Jason Lemkin and the SaaStr blog, he mentions that this is one of the most important SaaS metrics to measure, and what this is AE productivity. So the whole thinking behind this is, assuming that your opportunities are coming in and they're of a consistent quality and your reps are of a consistent quality, then looking at the amount of revenue per set of opportunities owned by rep is super valuable. And what that basically tells you is, given a set of opportunities, let's say, for example, the opportunities created in September owned by a particular rep, of those opportunities, how much revenue has that rep been able to extract out of them? And where this becomes really important to look at is, first of all, as a rep becomes more experienced, you're going to expect them to be able to extract more revenue out of a similar size of opportunities. And second, across the business unit. So I mentioned earlier that we have three different business units, small, medium business, mid-market, and large enterprise. Being able to compare reps within each of those bands is super important to see if there are any outliers to identify opportunities for improving your sales cycle. And then secondly, we do a quarterly forecasting exercise at the beginning of each fiscal quarter, basically what we look at is how much pipeline is open as of the first day of the quarter. And then based on historical close rates, we can then determine how much pipeline we need to generate in quarter in order for us to hit our revenue targets. So switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about how we diagnose issues, and I probably won't go through this entire table, but I'll give you an example. And again, we're using that basic volume conversion velocity framework that Fang mentioned earlier. So let's take volume, for example. So let's say at a particular stage, let's use SAL to SQL, an example, volume is down. That could mean many, many things. Conversion rates could be down at a prior stage, right? Volume coming in from marketing could be down, right? And so having this framework really allows you to start drilling down into what the potential issue is, and we use this all the time. So I want to move forward and talk about our tech stack. So our current tech stack is the function of a few inhibiting factors. So first of all, we found that our Salesforce instance was becoming increasingly complex, right? We had a number of custom objects, new fields were being added all the time. We were integrating a bunch of different other platforms into Salesforce. It was becoming pretty crazy. Second, we were adding many, many data sources. So we had a lot of different programs that were creating data, for example, Google Analytics and Marketo and so on and so forth. So it starts to become hard to reconcile all that data and really get a good sense of the buyer journey. Finally, a lot of these tools, and Salesforce being one of them, have great native reporting tools, but if you want to start to get, again, a good sense of the larger buyer journey, or if you want to do some more advanced analysis, these native reporting functions generally run out of steam pretty quickly. And so this is what our tech stack looks like today, the one that helps us drive insights. So we've taken all of our data sources, Marketo, Salesforce, Full Circle Insights, Vidyard as well. We use our own data in here. And we've started pumping all this data on a regular basis into a Amazon Redshift warehouse. And on top of this warehouse, it's a reporting tool. We use Periscope data. There's lots of others, great options out there. Periscope was the right one for us. And this allows us to break free of the siloed native reporting tools that exist within our data sources. So this allows us to drive insights in the following ways. As I mentioned, we now have alignment of multiple data sources, so we can get a better picture of the overall buyer journey. So, for example, how someone comes in as an unknown web visitor, what their behavior is like. That comes from Google Analytics or something like Mixpanel or Kissmetrics. And then when they become identified in your funnel, that's where Marketo comes in, and then the sales cycle, that's where Salesforce comes in. So you get if you're able to connect all these data points, you can get a very, very broad view of the buyer journey. Second, there is virtually unlimited reporting flexibility here. If you can dream it, you can build it out. Periscope uses SQL, so it's actually not too hard to learn, and I highly recommend everybody learn it if you haven't already. It's a super valuable skill set, and once you get to the point where you are implementing something like this, it'll give you the freedom to navigate the data really, really fast. And finally, scale. One thing you're going to notice if you start looking at larger tech companies or tech companies that are at scale, or most companies in general, they start to employ a solution like this. I mean, if you look across LinkedIn, Slack, Facebook, so on and so forth, most companies don't use native reporting tools for their data sources. They have a data warehouse and some kind of a business intelligence tool on top of it. So moving on, this is a pretty, what I just mentioned is a pretty advanced use case. However, I think it is a necessary one if your company is going to scale. However, you can get started down this path by doing something as simple as integrating your marketing automations platform with your CRM. And Fang is going to talk to you about how you can do that with Full Circle Insights. So take it away, Fang.
Thanks a lot, Amar. Great point on the SQL. Excel plus SQL, I think, is also Excel is a skill set. I think that we marketers have sort of become very, very familiar with, and maybe unfortunately so. But I love Excel. Anyway, so connecting your second data silos. So whatever you're using for your reporting, whatever you're using for your data silos, you want to make sure to connect them, like Amar said. And there's usually a major gap between marketing automation and your CRM. And it's very important to bridge the two and all other data silos in the technology. Because in order to be able to identify these opportunities and these high-impact opportunities for a healthier funnel, you're really going to have to get a good amount of visibility and an accurate view of your funnel metrics and your attribution. We at Full Circle believe that you need to create some sort of data hub, right? So that data hub it includes, let me see if it, oh, there we go. It took a while for it to show up on my end. But that data hub is all about connecting your data together to have a single view, a single source of truth. And here, what you see is the data hub that Full Circle Insights implements, and this is part of our product as well. And this is using your campaign member object. And Beth Granger here, there's an instance of Beth Granger attending this campaign influence partner webinar. And you see circled in the middle funnel stage attainment data, right? So auto stamping of the funnel stages. So this Beth Granger has hit the inquiry in the MQL and the SAL stage. And on the right side, you see that these are the dates, and it's auto stamped. So this is the second half of the title, and that is automated process. When you have connected data and you have an automated process to integrate sort of the data, as well as having the maintenance of that data, or sort of the regular collecting of the data, to have that understanding of what's going on in your funnel, what you get is on this next slide. It's full funnel visibility. Full funnel visibility enables you to identify key parts of your funnel. As we were mentioning throughout this whole webinar, it's about identifying opportunities in your funnel. Well, with accurate data, integrated data, and a process to keep that data integrity, and an automated process to sort of connect everything with date stamping, funnel stage attainment, what you get is full visibility here. So you've got your volume reports that have an accurate count stage by stage of where your leads are. And you can pick the campaign type that is the best in terms of generating volume and value. Then there's conversion and there's velocity. And you can create these reports and have confidence when you have a single source of truth and some process that maintains that single source of truth. And when you have that historical data and an accurate view of your historicals, you can create benchmarks. So historically, you've got these conversion rates. Historically, you've got these volume and velocity metrics. So if you look back in the past year or certain quarters and you figure out what the benchmarks are for your company and for your funnel, you can create benchmarks and set goals in the future for the next year and do some marketing planning. So that's what I mean by goal setting. And in order to do that, you, as depicted here, flip your funnel over, reverse the math in order to get your targets. So let's say you've got a revenue goal of $10 million. You've got from your benchmarking conversion targets or conversion assumptions. You can quickly figure out with some simple math what your volume target should be. So I've pasted a formula down here. So if you've got $10 million as your revenue goal and your average deal size is $1 million, so that's 10 deals you need to hit in order to hit that revenue goal. And you divide it by your conversion target overall, or stage by stage, you just keep dividing it. But let's say you've got a 10% conversion rate. So those 10 deals divided by that 10% conversion rate overall, you need 100 leads in order to get 10% of them to close. That's 10 deals, and then sort of multiply that $1 million. That's $10 million right there. So pretty simple math, but in order to get to that, you need to have accurate benchmarks, accurate visibility into what has happened in order to figure out what you want to have happen in the future. And that's marketing planning, right? So in summary, what we want you to leave here with is the education in these following points. One, you want to create your marketing performance measurement foundation, the funnel metrics, the business process, the lead stages, all of that. Two, you want to use your funnel metrics and your KPIs to identify high impact areas of your funnel. Thirdly, you want to understand what works and what doesn't in your marketing. And that's attribution. That's figuring out what campaigns impacted revenue, so what works and what doesn't. Amar mentioned your tech stack, and we both are in alignment there when it comes to having to ensure that you have data integrity and quality to make sure that you have a single source of truth. And when you have that single source of truth, finally you get to do benchmarking, you get to set goals, and you get to optimize so that you can aim for success and continually aim for success as you're going along and doing your marketing planning and optimization. And with that, I wanted to thank you all and open this up. And thanks a lot, Amar, for joining me here.
Thank you, Feng. Great presenting with you.
All right, so we have a couple of questions here. If anyone else has any extra questions you'd like to ask, feel free to throw those in now. We'll try to get through as many as we can, but obviously we can't get to them all. So if we do not end up getting your questions, I'll make sure Feng and Amar get a chance to follow up with you over email.
Great.
And I'm just trying to fix my window here. Okay, so our first question here is from Denise. She asks, are these revenue dollars provided by Salesforce or marketing?
Yeah,
I can hop on this one. Or
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
cool.
I was just going to say. You go, Amar.
All right. Yeah, I was. So sorry for the confusion, everybody. Typically at Vidyard, these revenue figures that you work backwards from to sort of figure out what you need to produce in your funnel. Typically, these revenue figures are coming from a combination of sales and finance, right? Sales and finance teams work together to figure out A, what we need to hit, but B, what's actually possible. I feel like it's a combination of those teams working together that will produce the most realistic revenue target.
Yeah, and Denise, our view at Full Circle Insights is that the revenue dollars, while marketing may have a view of what the opportunity might be, the opportunity gets created within Salesforce or within your CRM. And definitely finance has one of the most accurate view of what that is in terms of bookkeeping. But I would say that Salesforce is the way to go, and that is the place that people sort of record that opportunity. The integration is, you saw that slide with the crack in the middle, that gap between Salesforce and the marketing automation. What ends up happening if you don't have some sort of automated way to do attribution or allocation of the revenue, you may get inaccurate views of revenue. At least the marketing team will have different numbers than the sales team. So it's pretty important to make sure that you have some sort of way to do attribution allocation of the dollars, whether that's the opportunity or the pipeline, right, and have an agreement there, or when it converts over to revenue and the bookings. So making sure that you have a single source of truth. So that our recommendation is to keep that all in the CRM, but to integrate it with marketing through that attribution piece or some sort of attribution and allocation of revenue. Even if you keep it inside of Salesforce, that's even better, so that it sort of comes from one place. But thanks for asking that. That's a really good question.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So we have another question here from Ben. He says, how do I decide what attribution model to pick? Does it depend on company stage? And are there any other factors? So maybe we could do Feng first for this one.
Yeah. How do you decide what attribution models to pick? I mean, there was a lot going on with those two slides there, but let's start with what are your goals, right? So if your goal and stage of company is sort of a key influencer of what your goal is. A lot of times, growth stage companies push for growth, and so they push for building new leads and lists of new leads. And if that's your goal, a lot of times, and they're starting off with simple attribution models, so single touch is kind of sort of perfect for them to start off with. So single touch, it's what campaigns are the first touch that generate revenue. It all depends on what goals you have, and definitely feel free to sort of download those resources in order to figure out sort of which models provide what kinds of insights and the pros and cons. The factors include company stage, what your goals are, what you see in your business, and what you see in your lead life cycle. Sometimes, it's a custom-weighted model because, for a certain business, that third touch might be, very, very important. Therefore, they're using some sort of custom model. So it depends on your company stage, and different factors. And you have to decide based on what's correlated with growth, what's correlated with revenue. And so that's my answer.
Awesome. Thanks for the very thorough answer there, Feng. I'm going to move on to our next question. This is from Amanda. She says, what do healthy funnel conversion rates look like? And are there ever any exceptions to those numbers? So Amr, did you want to answer that one first?
Sure.
Just get himself off mute.
So that's a good question, and it gets asked a lot. The real answer is that it totally depends on your business, right? While it might be nice to have like a specific number, it just depends entirely on your business, the way you do things. For example, these numbers can also change a lot depending on changes that you make in the funnel. For example, something that we've tried doing recently is improving the quality of our SQOs or opportunities or pipeline, if you will. And to do that, we've made the criteria by which something becomes an opportunity more strict, right? So by making this process more strict, at the end of the day, we got a little bit less pipeline, right? But as a result, our close rates went way up because reps were only spending their time on opportunities that were of high quality. And in fact, we probably gained a bit of a efficiency bonus, right? Because reps had to spend less time working junk deals, they were able to spend more time on the deals that mattered, and as a result, closed more. So, to summarize, it depends entirely on your business. There are a lot of publications out there that talk about standardized rates, but at the end of the day, you know your business the best, and just go with what feels right.
And yeah, to tack on to that, Amar, it depends on what your goals are exactly. Not to give a cop-out answer, but it does depend on what your goals are. I will just add that healthy conversion rates, again, they're unique to your business, but it depends on your goals, and if efficiency is a goal of yours, so efficiency throughout your funnel and efficiency of application of your resources, your people to pursue these leads, I would say that healthy conversion rates look balanced through your funnel as well. Again, if efficiency is something you're going for, so if you have a ton at the top of the funnel, you have very little at the bottom, you may want to rebalance that. So that's my addition to that.
Awesome. Thanks both. I think it's going to be our last question today. So your last answer ties actually very nicely into this. Shannon's wondering, our funnel is very top-heavy, lots of inbound leads, but they aren't getting past the MQL stage. Any tips other than telling marketers to deliver better quality leads to help fix this?
Yeah, I can take this on. So if your funnel is very top-heavy and you find that not a lot of your inquiries are making it past the MQL stage, meaning they don't hit MQL, like Feng just mentioned in the answer to the previous question, the criteria for becoming an MQL are probably way too stringent, right? So you probably need to loosen that up. It's that simple. Loosen it up and see how those leads perform throughout the rest of the funnel. I know, especially in the early stages, and we're guilty of this too, it's really, really easy to make the scoring and lead qualification, marketing qualification criteria really, really complex. I'd say, especially in the early stages, just try to keep it simple. Again, not to give a cop-out answer, but just do what's intuitive, right? Stay away from making it super, super complex, and just see how things perform down the funnel and adjust from there, right? If you find that they are indeed performing poorly throughout the rest of the funnel, then you can tighten things up again, right?
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. And so as a product marketer, you know, another way to get at it is sort of the organic way too, and that is with content. And, you know, when your funnel is top heavy, but they're not getting past a certain point, maybe, you know, whether you're not setting up your logic gates to sort of get them through the funnel correctly, or even you don't have the right content in their education cycle, right? Your leads are being educated on the problem, they're interested in the problem, but you're not educating them on the problem in the right order or the right way. Obviously, Vidyard does stuff in this department, right, when it comes to content, how people are interacting with your content. Maybe it's about having the right video at the right time to make sure that, you know, you're educating your leads at a certain part of the inquiry stage in order to get them past the MQL stage and qualify them, right, having the data around who they are and why they got to where they got to. So that's my addition to that.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks so much, both of you, for providing all those insights for everyone. And thanks to everyone for joining us. Keep an eye on your inbox, and we'll have that recording to you within 24 hours. All right, take care. Thanks, everyone.